Breaking news. More Wagner troops, now under Russian flags after a deal ended their mutiny, have entered Belarus. Continuing their relocation to the ex-Soviet nation after last month's brief mutiny, more mercenaries from Russia's Wagner military contractor rolled into Belarus on Monday, a monitoring group said. A Belarusian activist group called Belaruski Hagen claims that on Monday, around 20 vehicles flying Russian flags and Wagner insignia entered the country on their way to a field camp offered by the Belarusian government. The organization claimed that this was the third Wagner convoy to enter the country in the past week. President Alexander Lukashenko of Belarus, who negotiated an end to the rebellion started by Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin last month, has said that his country's armed forces could benefit from the mercenaries' combat experience. Osipovichi is where a camp has been offered to Wayne R., and on Friday, Belarusian state TV aired footage showing Wagner instructors training Belarusian territorial defense forces at a firing range there. A channel on a Belarusian messaging app claimed last week that Prigozhin had spent the night in a tent at a camp near Sel, roughly 90 kilometers, about 55 miles, southeast of Minsk. Prigozhin's mercenaries quickly swept through the southern Russian city of Rostov-on-Don and captured the military headquarters without firing a shot during the revolt that began on June 23 and lasted less than 24 hours, before driving to within about 200 kilometers, 125 miles, of Moscow. When Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and General Staff Chief General Valery Gerasimov demanded that Wagner sign contracts with the ministry, Prigozhin led a «march of justice» to get rid of them. There was little resistance to the mutiny, and the mercenaries were able to shoot down at least 6 military helicopters and a command post aircraft, killing a total of 10 pilots. After reaching an agreement to end the rebellion in exchange for amnesty for himself and his men and permission to relocate to Belarus, Prigozhin ordered his troops back to their camps. It is unclear what the terms of the deal were or what happened to Prigozhin. How many Wagner soldiers were stationed in Belarus was not disclosed by the Belarusian Defense Ministry. Lukashenko has previously stated that Prigozhin and Moscow are responsible for making the decision to relocate to Belarus. There has been silence from the Kremlin. Russian President Vladimir Putin has stated that Wagner troops were given the option to retire, relocate to Belarus, or sign contracts with the Defense Ministry. Putin stated last week that he met with Wagner officers 5 days after the rebellion and gave them the option of continuing to serve as a single unit under their previous commander. Following a brief revolt last month that posed the greatest threat to his 23-year rule, Putin's comments appeared to reflect his efforts to secure the loyalty of Wagner mercenaries, some of the most capable Russian forces in Ukraine. As part of Russian efforts to defuse the threat posed by the mercenaries, the Russian Defense Ministry announced last week that Wagner had completed the handover of its weapons to the Russian military. This development seemed to signal the end of Wagner's operations in Ukraine, where they had played a prominent role as one of the most capable elements of Russian forces.